Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Wasp. Now I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Ant-Man figure review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, this line is just the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to experimental art boxes. The entire thing being made out of translucent yellow plastic? Yeah, we just don't see stuff like that very often. As for the artwork on the slipcover, we've got some hexagonal shaped cutouts, very on brand for the Wasp, a Pym symbol in the middle that is raised, and inside of it, not only pictures of Evangeline Lilly in costume from the movie, but also some shots of the figure herself. On the side of the box, I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. Some Quantum Realm stuff, perhaps? Hexagons, top and bottom, hexagon cutouts, some glossy sections, and some matte finish bits. Around the back, warnings, legal information, and Hot Toy store locations. This one is one that you have to watch out for. It just tells you that, unfortunately, they have once again gone with button cell batteries. This is what I'm talking about. It makes the unboxing experience feel that little bit more special. Hiding the figure and all of her accessories behind this subtly frosted translucent yellow plastic not only fits the vibe of Wasp because her costume has yellow accents on it, but it adds some mystique to the unboxing experience. You can tell there's a figure behind this translucent plastic, but you can't quite make out all of the details, at least not yet. Another Pym symbol on the side of the box, as well as her name down below. Then around the back, two honeycomb panels, as well as her name smack bang in the middle. The number one question on my mind right now is this the Wasp to have? Or, if you already own the Ant-Man and the Wasp version, I have it and I love it, is this potentially a safe skip? I hope to be able to answer that question throughout the course of this video. First, in-hand impressions. So far so good, I'm loving the vibrant blue and yellow. What we're going to do now is get all of her accessories laid out in the light box, and take a closer look at everything she comes with. Starting off with the display base first, it's simple, it's effective, it gets the job done. It's mostly yellow up top for the artwork, and it's predominantly done in that scratchy, rough textured finish. The logo and this stripe at the back, they're high gloss. For the nameplate, the Wasp, then up top, an articulated flight pole with a spring-loaded waist clamp on it. Don't use this. If you have Wasp in this waist clamp long term, you are going to do damage to the outfit. Now, my question is, if they know that these bases are crotch grabber compatible, why not also chuck in a crotch grabber like this? I'm so sick of them not doing so, that I'm going to be selling this model of crotch grabber on my site, justinscollection.shop. And my ones have these soft rubber tips up front, so they aren't going to damage the outfit, even if the outfit is subtly making contact with these two pieces. Still watch out for indentations, but scratching shouldn't happen. We'll be going into way more detail on this head sculpt a little bit later once we install it on the body. For now, just know that we get an unhelmeted head sculpt. It's got moving eyes and this downed helmet piece that you slide into her backpack to make it look like her helmet has retracted, revealing her face. I thought I really wasn't going to like this because this is part of an incomplete mini diorama. We'll touch on that in the pros and cons segment. As it turns out, I love this. It's a fantastic little accessory. It's small, but it packs a punch. Ant-Man is covered in paint. There's even some airbrush shading and some dry brushing on the teeny little rock that he's running on. You can remove him from the rock if you so choose. I tried to flip him round, but the peg is angled, so he can't be running up the rock, he's always meant to be running down it. They've included this bracket piece though. Once you plug that onto his foot, you can then have him connected to the Wasp's gauntlet to make it look like he's running down her arm. I'll show you what that looks like when we get the Wasp out here. Ah yes, the Wasp's wings. It seems as though her wings have been clipped because the first version of the Wasp had massive wings. They were bigger than this, and they were more detailed. These have been dialed back, and not in a good way. There's still some sculpted detail on the surface, but they're literally just translucent plastic now with some yellow stripes up top. We get 2 big ones and 2 small ones. I will of course show you what she looks like wearing these. Oh, and to go along with the wings, we get this backpack piece that just slides over the top of them once they've been connected to complete the look around the back. Lastly, some hands. These splayed out finger open palm ones. And is it just me, or do the rib sections on her fingers kind of make them look even more waspy? Maybe I'm just imagining it. I also expected some paint on the button. They just left that completely unpainted. 2 closed fists, buttons, still unpainted, but we do have the metallic armor on the back of them. Oh, and 2 fingers curled in semi-gripping hands already installed on her right out of the box. What we're going to do now is get Hope Van Dyne, the Wasp, herself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Except I have switched out the hands for closed fists and I've turned the LEDs on for the visor in the helmet. I want to preface this by saying I really didn't like Quantumania. It's not only my least favorite Ant-Man film, but it's my least favorite MCU film ever. And that's saying something because over the years we've had some absolute stinkers. With all of that being said, this piece rises above all of that. The outfit alone makes her worth it in my opinion. It's bright. It's colourful, it's heavily textured, it's panel-lined, and they've used stretchy spandex for certain sections. The helmet is sharper and cleaner versus the first Wasp, and we get a brand new head sculpt. Is it better than the first one? Well, we'll find out in a second, but we do get a new head sculpt with moving eyes, and I count that as an absolute win. Standing there in front of us right now, proportions-wise, she looks very realistic, and I know I already gushed about the outfit, but that bright yellow is seriously so good. Up close and personal, kicking things off with the Wasp's helmet. This look for her bucket does fit the modern MCU design aesthetic. Everything is smoother and rounder and more organic, nanotechy almost. I still think I prefer this one because of how angular it is. That's not to say that this looks bad, because it absolutely doesn't. They've even added some sculpted wrinkling underneath it to make it look like it's tucked into the collar of the outfit. Then there's her eyes visible through the visor, and there's an LED light up function, removing this heavily textured top panel that looks like armor plating, but it's a single piece of sculpted plastic. Flicking the switch, I'll do this so you can see it. Blink and you'll miss it. Boom. Not the best light up effect in the world, but that just means if you have the lights off or the button cell batteries die on you, then she's still very easily displayable like this. I don't think the LEDs are all that essential. Okay. I can see what they were going for. It looks like Evangeline Lilly. This was her haircut in the movie. They were a lot less flattering to her this time. She's got almost baggy looking skin on either side of her mouth, how it sags down like that. Her eyes don't look as full of life, even though you can move them. We'll try that, maybe it'll fix it. Then we get to the hairstyle. I'm not partial to this. Technically speaking, it's well done. We've got a separate fringe, so it casts a shadow on her forehead. That's realistic. There's heaps of texture to it, and you can't even see the mold line on top of the head sculpt. It looks like one continuous seamless piece. Speaking of seamless, skin tone neck. Because they use that sculpted wrinkling detail to slot underneath the collar of the outfit for the helmet, when you remove it, they've hidden a skin tone neck underneath it. Not that you can see it from front on, but from the side, I appreciate their attention to detail. You don't have to use this retracted helmet piece if you don't want to, but if you do, you slot it in between the outfit and her backpack. Let's move the eyes around and see if we can't make this head sculpt look a little bit better. With the head sculpt off the body, I've just now noticed that she's got really fine painted eyelashes right there. That's not something that makes a big difference from a distance, but up close, it absolutely does. This bloody eye on the left side of the sculpt sitting up higher than the other, I reckon that's what was throwing the sculpt off for me. Moving them to one side, because this sculpt has a subtle smirk to it, with a head tilt forward, I reckon it's going to come into its own. I haven't dialed in the eye position perfectly, and that's because there's not much access inside the sculpt. This time, I would recommend using the tool over using one of your fingers. That's better. Side eye, head tilt forward, even head tilt down. That's a sassy wasp expression. Is it as good as this one is? I don't think so. It's more detailed, it's more realistic looking, there's more skin texture, the skin tone is lighter, all of that I love. But something about it, whether it's the hairstyle or the baggy looking skin, is throwing it off for me. It's starting to win me over. I don't know why, I don't know how. It could be the fact that I can infinitely adjust it to find the angle that works best for me thanks to the moving eyes, but I still prefer the original. If only that one had moving eyes, it would be a perfect unhelmeted Wasp sculpt. For those wondering about cross-compatibility, yep, doable. I'll show you what the original sculpt looks like on the new body in the pros and cons segment, but this is the new head sculpt on the original Wasp body. It sits higher on the neck, and it's not a skin tone neck, so that seam is quite unsightly. And is it just me, or does this sculpt look too big for this body? I like this, the original helmet on the new body. It doesn't have the extra sculpt work for this rubbery neck gasket piece to slot into the collar of the outfit, so the skin tone neck is visible, which is tech breaking, like the suit wouldn't work with exposed skin. Then again, Ant-Man does grow in the movie without his helmet on. Anyway, it doesn't matter to me because I'm never going to be displaying her from the side. Front on, you can't even see that little bit of skin tone. Way too many snap transitions just then, I'm so sorry. Around the back, she's got her little backpack on. You can remove this piece to attach the wings, which we will do, but we're not there yet as this piece doesn't really want to go back on. There we go. The paint applications are crisp. I like how it's attached over her shoulders with the red bits at the front. But where are the wings? With the original, we had the collapsed wings fully visible. This looks so much more believable. I know it's harder to animate with CGI versus having wings just pop out of nowhere. I don't care. That original, less organic, more mechanical design is my preference. But everything else, I'm so here for with this new outfit. The heavily textured armor-plated sections, the silver pinstriping, the spandex sections, that right there. This for the pants. Normal, straight, stretchy spandex, which is going to be great for posing. But it's the color that gets me the most. This really sharp, bright yellow, then accented with the bright blue. It's a night and day difference versus the original. They were going for something duller, more realistic potentially with this outfit. They went straight up comic booky with this one, and I don't mind that at all. These shoulder pads are not attached with Velcro. I don't know how they're attached. They're glued onto the suit, I think. We've got some ribbed sections for her elbows. Then her gauntlets are free floating. You can adjust them, and I suggest you do to cover up the wrist pegs. Make sure you're bringing them down once you dial in the position of her hands. This is actually kind of neat. if you'd like to have that miniature Ant-Man running down the Wasp's arm, making it look like he's about to jump off the end of it, you simply plug the clear plastic post underneath the gauntlet, and now this is what you're left with. If only it wasn't putting a ton of pressure on these rubbery parts of her outfit at her shoulders, this would be a display option I would consider. But as it stands, if I leave her like this, I'm going to destroy her outfit at the shoulders. This must have been such a difficult outfit to recreate in 1/6 scale. All of the different textures. We've got the checkered patterns, then the areas that are just straight dots, the silver panel lining, the bright blue, the yellow textured armor pieces, the leather grain, continuing on the shoulder pads all the way around the front. Then more of that leather grain is down here on the boot guards, combined with this new texture with some wrinkling sculpted in. They've added these blue arrows on the boots. That's another neat way of tying together the blue bits for everything else. It's a split cut boot design, but they've used a hinge and swivel for the ankles. We'll discuss that in the articulation segment. On the underside, some fully sculpted tread. Most people who have the original Wasp display her with the outstretched wings on, because it's a very impressive display option. Can the same thing be said for the new one? Let's find out. I wish I liked this more than I actually do. I'm never going to display her with the wings on, which is unfortunate because the wings for the previous version of Wasp were so much cooler. The metallic gunmetal accents, the honeycomb effect on the wings themselves, the size of them, they're way bigger than these new ones are. But I can't fault Hot Toys for this. They didn't come up with this design. This is what they looked like in the movie. They've got a decent range of motion, at least. You can angle them forward and back, and up and down. I'm worried about the longevity of the joints, but for now, right out of the box, they're quite sturdy, although they do get creaky when you move them around. Make sure, once you plug the wings in, you install this backpack cover piece, because without that on there, not only are the peg ports visible, but the wings do get detached while you're posing them. This helps lock everything in place, and it's a secure connection once it's plugged on there. My biggest issue with them is the translucent plastic. No smokiness, no detail whatsoever, just the sculpted in panel lines. In the collection, when she's standing there, they are so clear and so glary, they're going to be an eyesore more than anything else. For a quick side-by-side comparison, I'm going to try, just for a moment for this segment, to completely ignore the movies that these looks are based off. Because if I was doing that, the figure on the right would win hands down. And I know some of y'all do use the films as determining factors to help you decide if you're going to pick up a figure. In this instance, I just want to talk about the outfits. The figure on the left is slightly shorter. I'm not mad at that. Her boots could have thinner soles for all we know. But the color scheme. The color scheme is way more comic booky. She just pops so much more than the figure on the right does. I'm never going to get rid of my Ant-Man and the Wasp because that's the outfit she wore in Endgame. But if I had to pick right here and now between them, I'm going with the new one. How about next to Scott? Really good, actually. Because they shrunk Wasp down a little, I reckon she scales even better alongside Ant-Man now. I'm still looking forward to the new one with the brighter color palette and the new Paul Rudd head sculpt, which hopefully is actually displayable, not like the monstrosity this figure came with. But if you don't care about that, and this is your only Ant-Man in the collection, the one from Ant-Man and the Wasp and Avengers Endgame, well, at least now you know what they look like standing together. Say what you will about the movie. I reckon that right there is peak MCU costuming. Kang the Conqueror. He comes across as though he's been ripped directly out of the comics and slapped on the big screen. In 1/6 scale, he's taller than Wasp, as he should be. Scaling looks fine. Not that it really matters for me, though, because he's not going to be posed up anywhere near either Ant-Man or the Wasp. He's going with the Loki figures in my collection. Going over articulation, starting off with her helmet. If you use the head sculpt, you're going to get a little bit more range out of it, just because the helmet does have that gasket piece that cups the top of her skin tone neck underneath her suit collar. It's on a ball joint and hinge and swivel, looking forward to there, looking up to there, probably just enough range for a flight pose, but they're pushing it. Then we've got swivel and pivot side to side. Her arms go up to there. I thought at first you could tuck the shoulder pad underneath the vest, but this isn't big enough of a gap for that to actually happen. Going forward and back, soft stretchy spandex, so heaps of range. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90. Then for the wrist peg, it's a ratcheted hinge and swivel. Her torso crunches forward to there, heaps of bunching to contend with. Going back to there, more range and significantly less bunching. Swivel and pivot side to side. Her legs go forward to there, and the suit does get eaten up by that hip joint, something to watch out for. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee, going past 90, but only just. Lastly, the stupidest decision of them all. Instead of going with a double ball peg for the ankles, they went with a hinge and swivel. It's basically a massive wrist peg. So we've got forward and back and rotation out of the split cut boot design. But if you want ankle tilt, you have to remove the foot, rotate the joint so it's facing left and right, then you'll be able to access that ankle rocker. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is, so when they announced Ant-Man and the Wasp, they also showed off a sneak preview of Cassie. And they said, when you pick up all 3 of them, you're going to be able to complete a mini diorama featuring Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Cassie. But they never announced Cassie. So now we're left with these miniature figures that are never going to be able to be fully assembled into that tiny diorama. The second annoying thing is, I don't think we get nearly enough hands. Closed fists, splayed out finger ones, and semi-gripping hands. That means no actual gripping hands and no relaxed open palm ones. The third annoying thing is not only are her new wings more boring to look at versus what we got with the first Wasp, but you see that, the little connector? It's a wrist peg. And it's translucent plastic, 2 of the worst ideas possible. Wrist pegs, they always break. That's why they give us spares. But not for the wings. If these break on you, you're shit out of luck. The first cool thing is, I think it's so clever how they've continued the sculpt work for the helmet inside the suit collar. So when it's on, you can't see the skin tone neck. But once you remove it, we have that fully painted, sculpted and detailed skin tone neck. I wish they would do this sort of thing more often, because it means that we don't have weird seams or gaps or anything. It looks organic whether you're going with the helmet or the head sculpt. The second cool thing, and I am strongly considering displaying her like this, is that the original Wasp head sculpt is perfectly compatible with this body. It's actually connected to the ball joint. It's not just sitting on there with friction or anything. The only thing you have to watch out for is the neck is a touch bigger on this new body versus the one that this head sculpt comes with. Don't let that stop you. Heat up the head sculpt, angle it so the rubbery neck slides underneath it, being careful of friction. You don't want to scratch up the skin tone neck, causing damage to the paint applications. Push it all the way down on the ball joint, and this is what you're left with. The third cool thing is, for certain sections of her outfit, they've used regular old stretchy spandex. Not for all of the high traffic joints like her elbows, for example, covered in these gasket sections, because that's what the design calls for. But wherever they could get away with it, they've used spandex, and that means for those bits, we're going to get way more articulation out of them. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Wasp, based off her appearance in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I think this figure released early because the first Wasp was already so good, and the second movie was a lot better than the third one is. So when people saw this, they looked at the Wasp already in their collections. They were like, nah, probably not necessary, right? I'll just stick with the Wasp I have. I don't blame you if you made that choice. I was tempted to do just that. Now that I have her standing in front of me, I'm glad I didn't. I gave this figure a chance, even though I didn't like the movie, and I was rewarded for that with what is, in my opinion, the best Wasp figure in 1/6 scale. The outfit is really colourful. It helps her stand out versus the dark, dingy colour palette of the first one. Not that I don't like that, I do. She's got a really solid head sculpt, not quite as flattering to Evangeline Lilly as the first one was, but it's still good. And the LED light-up function in the helmet does bring some life to the helmeted sculpt. Overall, if you are after just a generic Wasp ignoring the film, I say get this. It's comic booky enough so that it can foreseeably work in any area of your MCU display. I'm going to use this as my main Wasp. The other one is being downgraded to somewhere else in the collection, no longer front and center. If you have that one already, do you sell it and pick this one up? I would say potentially, yeah, that's how good this is. She's not perfect, but she is darn close. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.